Imagine waking up one day and realizing that everything you love has been taken from you. Your home, your family, your freedom, all gone. What would keep you going? What would stop you from giving up? In 1942, Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and neurologist, was sent to Auschwitz, one of the most brutal concentration camps in history. Stripped of everything, he was forced to confront the deepest question a person can face. What is the meaning of suffering? And what he discovered could change the way you see your own life. Today, we dive into Frankl's profound insights on suffering, purpose, and resilience. By the end of this video, you will walk away with a powerful mindset shift that can help you navigate life's hardest challenges. Let's begin with a simple but important question. Who was Viktor Frankl, and why does his story matter? At first glance, Frankl was a psychiatrist, neurologist, and professor. But his real story is much deeper than that. One of unimaginable suffering, resilience, and a discovery that changed the way we understand human psychology. His life wasn't just about studying suffering, he lived through some of the worst suffering imaginable. Let's break his story down. 1. A man who studied the mind, until he was forced to study his own. Viktor Frankl was born in Vienna, Austria, in 1905. From a young age, he was fascinated by the human mind, particularly how people find meaning in life. He studied psychoanalysis, following the work of Freud and Adler. But he disagreed with Freud, who believed that humans are driven mostly by pleasure. Frankl argued that what truly drives us is the search for meaning, not just pleasure or power. By the 1930s, he had already started developing his groundbreaking psychological theory, Logotherapy. The idea that a person's mental health is deeply connected to their sense of meaning in life. He worked in hospitals, helping suicidal patients find reasons to keep going. His career was taking off and his ideas were gaining recognition. But then, everything changed. 2. A life torn apart by the Holocaust. In 1942, Frankl's world was shattered. The Nazis invaded Austria, and he and his family were sent to concentration camps. Imagine this. One day, you're a respected doctor with a promising career. The next, you're stripped of everything. Your home, your work, your identity. You're forced into a world of unimaginable cruelty, where death is everywhere. Frankl lost nearly everything. His pregnant wife, Tilly, was taken from him. His parents and brother were murdered. He was forced into 4 different concentration camps, including Auschwitz, one of the most brutal death camps in history. And yet, in the middle of this nightmare, Frankl made a remarkable discovery. 3. The discovery that changed everything. In the camps, Frankl saw 2 kinds of people: those who gave up, who lost all hope and quickly perished. Those who found a reason to keep going, even in the worst conditions. He noticed something profound. Survival wasn't just about physical strength, it was about mental resilience. Those who had a purpose, a reason to live, were far more likely to endure suffering. For some, it was the hope of seeing a loved one again. For others, it was a deep belief in something greater than themselves. For Frankl, it was both, his love for his wife and his determination to share his discoveries with the world. 4. Writing a masterpiece in his mind. In the camp, Frankl had nothing. His book, the one that contained years of research, had been taken from him when he was arrested. So he did something extraordinary. He began rewriting it in his mind, memorizing key ideas while working as a prisoner. He observed his fellow inmates, studying how some found the strength to endure while others lost all hope. He realized that the difference wasn't physical, it was psychological. This became the foundation of his groundbreaking book, Man's Search for Meaning. 5. Life after the camps, spreading his message. When the war ended in 1945, Frankl was one of the few survivors of his family. He returned to Vienna, grieving, but also determined. He wrote Man's Search for Meaning in just 9 days, pouring out everything he had learned. It became one of the most influential books of all time, helping millions of people understand how meaning shapes our lives. He spent the rest of his life teaching, writing, and helping people find purpose in their struggles. Even after everything he endured, he didn't become bitter. He didn't let suffering break him. Instead, he turned his pain into something meaningful and helped others do the same. So why does Viktor Frankl's story still resonate today? Because we all face suffering in different forms. We lose people we love. We experience failure, disappointment, and hardship. We struggle to find meaning in our daily lives. And yet, Frankl's message is timeless. No matter what happens, we always have the freedom to choose our response. This is the lesson that helped him survive the Holocaust, and it's the lesson that can help us overcome the challenges we face today. Viktor Frankl is known as the man who found freedom in the worst of places. His life was proof that even in the worst conditions, the human spirit can endure if we have meaning. He lost everything, but he never lost his ability to choose how he responded to suffering. And that's a lesson we can all learn from. Because while we may not face the same horrors, we all have struggles. And in those struggles, we always have a choice: to give up or to find meaning and move forward. Stay with me because we will explore the power hidden in suffering, which may change your life. Suffering is one of life's unavoidable realities. No matter who we are or where we come from, we all experience pain, loss, and hardship at some point. The question isn't how to avoid suffering, it's how to make it meaningful. Viktor Frankl's life and work teach us that suffering without meaning crushes us, but suffering with meaning transforms us. But how does this work? Let's explore 3 powerful ways meaning changes suffering, and how this understanding can help us face life's hardest moments with strength and purpose. 1. Meaning makes suffering bearable. Imagine 2 people carrying heavy backpacks up a steep mountain. One believes the journey is pointless, the other believes there's a breathtaking view at the top. Who will have the strength to keep going? Frankl realized that suffering itself isn't what breaks us, it's the lack of meaning behind it. If we believe suffering is random and meaningless, it becomes unbearable. But if we see it as part of a greater purpose, we can endure almost anything. In the concentration camps, Frankl saw this firsthand. He noticed that prisoners who had a reason to live, whether it was a loved one to reunite with, a project to finish, or a belief to hold on to, were the ones who survived the longest. For example, imagine going through a painful breakup. If you believe it means, I'm unlovable and doomed to be alone, the suffering will feel endless. But if you see it as a lesson, a redirection, a path to something better, the pain becomes part of a larger story. Meaning doesn't erase suffering, it gives us the strength to carry it. 2. Meaning turns pain into growth. Suffering can break us down, but it can also build us up if we let it. Frankl believed that the way we respond to suffering defines who we become. Pain can make us bitter or wise, hopeless or resilient, closed off or more compassionate. The difference? How we choose to interpret our suffering. Frankl said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Sometimes we can't escape suffering, but we can grow because of it. For example, a person who loses a loved one can either stay trapped in grief forever or find meaning by using their experience to help others who are suffering. Suffering forces us to grow, adapt, and evolve, but only if we search for meaning in it. 3. Meaning helps us find freedom, even in the worst circumstances. One of Frankl's most profound insights was that we are never completely powerless, even when everything is taken from us. In the concentration camps, he saw that some prisoners, despite the horror around them, still encouraged others, gave away their last piece of bread, chose to hold on to hope. How? Because they understood something powerful. Circumstances can take away our comfort, but they can't take away our ability to choose how we respond. Frankl called this the last of human freedoms, the power to decide what suffering means to us. Imagine if 2 people lose their jobs. One spirals into hopelessness, believing life is unfair. The other sees it as a chance to redefine their career and build something better. The suffering is the same, but their interpretation of it is different. When we realize that our response to suffering is our choice, we reclaim control over our lives. Suffering without meaning feels like punishment, but suffering with meaning becomes a source of strength, growth, and even freedom. So the next time life gets hard, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? What meaning can I create from this pain? Because as Viktor Frankl showed us, meaning changes everything. Stay with me as we are going to explore how to find meaning in suffering, and this can change your life. Finding meaning in suffering is not about denying pain or pretending hardships don't exist. Instead, it's about transforming suffering into purpose, growth, and inner strength. Viktor Frankl's life and work show us that meaning isn't something we wait for, it's something we create. But how exactly do we do that? Here are 3 powerful ways to find meaning in suffering and change the way we see adversity forever. First, shift from why me to what now. When we suffer, our first instinct is often to ask, why is this happening to me? We feel victimized by life. We focus on what we've lost, not what's still possible. We get trapped in the idea that suffering is pointless, but Frankl challenges us to flip the question. Instead of asking, why me? He encourages us to ask, what can I do with this experience? What now? Can it teach me something about myself? Can it make me more compassionate? Can it push me toward a new direction in life? When we stop seeing suffering as meaningless pain and start looking for ways to grow, we reclaim our power. Imagine losing a job you loved. The pain is real, but instead of drowning in frustration, you ask, what now? Maybe this is a chance to explore a career you were afraid to try. Maybe it's a wake-up call to create something of your own. Maybe it teaches you resilience and adaptability. The situation didn't change, but your response to it did, and that's where meaning is found. 2. Serve something bigger than yourself. Frankl discovered that the people who survived the most horrific conditions in concentration camps weren't necessarily the strongest physically. They were the ones who had a reason to keep going, something bigger than themselves. Meaning is often found when we stop focusing only on our own suffering and instead ask, how can I help someone else? What impact can I make even in small ways? Who needs my presence, my strength, my love? If you're struggling with heartbreak, depression, or loss, you have the choice to shift your focus outward. Call a friend who might need support. Help a stranger in need. Contribute to something meaningful, a project, a cause, a relationship. Frankl reminds us that when we serve others, we find purpose in our own suffering. 3. Choose your attitude, the one freedom no one can take away. One of Frankl's most profound insights is that our circumstances do not determine our inner freedom. Even in the most extreme situations, we have one ultimate choice: how we respond. No one can control whether we face hardship, whether life takes unexpected turns, whether we experience loss, failure, or pain, but we can always choose how we respond to it. Even in the Nazi concentration camps, where prisoners had no control over their physical reality, Frankl noticed that some still found ways to be kind, to encourage others, to hold on to hope. He realized everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. For example, 2 people face the same tragedy. One becomes bitter, the other becomes wise. What's the difference? It's not the suffering itself, it's how they chose to respond. When we embrace this, suffering no longer controls us. We control it by deciding what it means to us. Finding meaning in suffering doesn't mean pretending pain isn't real. It means choosing to grow through it rather than being destroyed by it. So when life gets hard, remember, ask what now instead of why me. Find meaning through service to others. Choose your response, because that's where true freedom lies. And in doing so, suffering is no longer just suffering. It becomes the fuel for transformation. Stay with me as next we'll explore practical ways to apply Frankl's insights. Viktor Frankl's philosophy isn't just about understanding suffering, it's about transforming it into meaning. But how do we actually do that in our daily lives? Let's break it down into practical steps. First, shift your perspective. Reframe suffering as an opportunity. Frankl teaches that we cannot always control what happens to us, but we can control how we interpret and respond to it. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" Instead of seeing hardship as pure misfortune, see it as an opportunity for personal growth, strength, and deeper understanding. For example, if you're struggling with rejection, loneliness, or failure, ask yourself, "How can this experience shape me into a better person?" This mindset shift alone is powerful. 2. Identify a purpose, bigger than yourself. Frankl's core idea is that meaning is found outside of ourselves, in serving others, in love, in creative work. Find something or someone you deeply care about. It could be your family, a cause, or even a personal mission. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can contribute to the world, no matter how small? People who dedicate themselves to something greater than their own suffering find inner strength and resilience. If you feel lost, volunteer for a cause, mentor someone, or start a creative project that brings value to others. 3. Take responsibility for your response to life. Frankl believed that even in suffering, we always have a choice. No matter what life throws at you, you get to decide your response. Instead of complaining, embrace radical responsibility. What action can you take right now to improve your situation? How can you show courage in the face of difficulty? For example, if you're facing job loss, instead of dwelling on the setback, use it as a chance to explore new skills or a more fulfilling path. 4. Find meaning in the little things. Not all suffering is grand or dramatic. Sometimes it's the daily struggles, stress, boredom, uncertainty that weigh us down. Train yourself to see meaning in small everyday moments. The smile of a loved one, the beauty of a sunrise, the joy of learning something new. This mindset turns even the smallest joys into sources of meaning, making you more resilient in tough times. 5. Develop a why that keeps you going. Frankl famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Your why is what fuels you when times are hard. It could be your dreams, your loved ones, or your belief in a greater purpose. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself of your why. Think about it. Athletes push through grueling training because they have a clear vision of their goal. What's your goal? What keeps you going? 6. Practice gratitude, even in suffering. One of the simplest yet most powerful ways to apply Frankl's wisdom is gratitude. Even in hardship, ask yourself, what can I be grateful for today? Write down 3 things you appreciate, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's meaningful. Applying Frankl's lessons isn't about avoiding suffering. It's about transforming it into growth, purpose, and meaning. Suffering doesn't have to break us. It can shape us. So the next time life gets difficult, remember, you have the power to find meaning, even in the darkest moments. At this point, we've explored Viktor Frankl's powerful insight that suffering becomes bearable when we find meaning in it. But now, the most important question remains. How do we apply this in our own lives? We all experience pain, loss, setbacks, and hardships. Sometimes life feels unfair, and suffering seems meaningless. But as Frankl discovered in the darkest moments of human history, we always have a choice. So let's bring everything together and see how we can use this wisdom to transform our lives. 1. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Life will challenge us. There's no escaping that. But our suffering is not just in what happens to us, it's in the meaning we give it. If we see pain as purely negative, it will feel unbearable. If we see pain as part of a greater journey, it becomes manageable, even meaningful. Think about people who have faced extreme hardships, survivors of illness, loss, or tragedy. Many of them say their suffering gave them a new perspective, made them stronger, or helped them help others. They didn't choose their pain, but they chose what it meant, and that changed everything. So when life gets hard, remember to ask yourself, how can I grow from this? What lesson is hidden in this struggle? How can I turn this pain into something meaningful? Because pain is inevitable, but the way we suffer is up to us. 2. Freedom lies in how we respond. Frankl's most profound lesson was that even in the worst circumstances, we always have one freedom that can never be taken away: the freedom to choose our response. This is what separates those who stay stuck in suffering from those who rise above it. Some people go through terrible hardships and become bitter. Others go through the same hardships and come out wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. The difference? How they choose to see their suffering. This is not about ignoring pain or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about realizing that no matter what happens, we can find a way to rise above it. 3. Your meaning is unique to you. One of the most beautiful things about meaning is that it's personal. Some people find meaning through faith. Some find it through family and relationships. Others find it in helping others, pursuing a passion, or contributing to a greater cause. Frankl believed that no one can tell you what your meaning should be. You have to discover it for yourself. So, take a moment to reflect. What gives your life meaning? What keeps you going when things get tough? What purpose makes your struggles worthwhile? When we focus on these things, suffering no longer feels random. It becomes part of a larger, meaningful journey. Viktor Frankl's story teaches us something life-changing. We don't have to be victims of our suffering. We can choose to find meaning in it. Life is uncertain. Pain is unavoidable. But meaning? That's something we can always create. So no matter what you're going through right now, remember, you have the power of choice. You can choose what your pain means. And in that choice lies your strength, your freedom, and your purpose. That is the true power of meaning. And that is Viktor Frankl's greatest lesson to us all. If you found this video helpful, remember to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this today. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay curious, stay present, and we'll see you in the next video.